lovely Wildheart, it's Lisa here, editing Lisa. I wanted to just warn you ahead of listening to this episode that it's very windy on my walk with Mo today, so there's a lot of background noise. I've tried to remove as much of it as possible, but it's still there, so maybe not to listen in your ear holes if you don't want to be blown about by the breeze, but also it's too good not to put out because it just came from the heart. It was just me chatting as I was walking. So I hope you will be able to enjoy some of it. So let's dive into today's windy episode. Side note, the wind is not coming from me, it's coming from the elements, just to be clear about that. Hello lovely Wild Hearts. Welcome back to another episode of the Wildheart Diaries. This morning I am on Surrey Hills and it's quite sunny and the air is fresh, and little Mo and I have stepped out for our morning walk. We're a little bit later this morning. We had a lie-in because it's the weekend, which was nice. How are you all doing? How is everybody? If you are new here, welcome. I'm Lisa and I help highly sensitive women tap into their intuitive and creative gifts. As highly sensitives, we can be prone to overthinking because we're deep thinkers and we process and feel things on a deeper level than neurotypicals. But the flip side of that, when you get a handle on that busy brain, on that mind chatter, is that you have creative and intuitive gifts which the world needs. So I'd like to help more of you tap into those. And if you're returning, welcome back. Pull up a chair, make yourself a cuppa and settle in. Today I want to talk about mothering and nurturing the self. Tomorrow in the UK is Mother's Day. It will be March the 10th tomorrow. As many of you know, I am estranged from my mother, and if you are also, or your mum is no longer with us, she's crossed the Rainbow Bridge, or indeed you have a painful or complex relationship with your own mother, then I'm sending love to you, because a mother's love is like no other, and it shapes us and it anchors us and it helps us work out who we are. And it's so important for the first 3 years that we can safely rest in our mother's love, to know that we're loved unconditionally. And so for those of us that didn't have that nurturing, we have a tendency to neglect and avoid mothering ourselves, loving ourselves. So when I talk about mothering the self, what I'm referring to is knowing that you're worthy and deserving of loving, and I'm talking about self-love, and I'm talking about self-care, but I'm talking about the self-care that goes beyond bubble baths and manicures. And I do have a little pack called Self-Love Starts Here, which will help you work out what your blocks are to self-love. And so if you want to download that, I'll pop it in the show notes for you if anyone's interested. It's a journaling session with cards, and then there's some other bits and pieces that I've put in there to help you on your self-love journey, but I think you'll find it quite helpful. Hang on a minute, we're just coming through the gate. Come on, Poppet. Bringing up the rear, Mo is bringing up the rear today. I don't really focus on holidays like Mother's and Father's Day anymore, purely because I'm not celebrating it with that person. So I find it helps to turn the day into a day of mothering and nurturing for you. I think that's something that isn't easy to do, though. It sounds easy. I'm working with a lady at the moment. She's doing my self-care super boost package, and we check in every day on WhatsApp and we have a chat, and I get her to do a check-in with herself and make sure that she's, taking care of herself. But then we talk about her experience of life and the people around her and what's shaping her. And there's a really common pattern with the highly sensitive women that I work with, that there is a gap, because, and it may be in the way that we've raised or the beliefs that we hold around being a good girl, being kind, but lots of the highly sensitive women I work with are so focused on nurturing and caretaking others, whether that's physically or emotionally, that they become so burnt out, because as a highly sensitive, you're really in tune with your environment, which means you're really in tune with other people's stuff, but to the detriment of your own. And so this lady and I've been getting her to just check in with her own body every day and notice how she's feeling. It sounds so simple and so basic, but also it's grounding your energy, it's bringing you back into your body, it's making you aware of what's going on for you, it's increasing your self-awareness. The reason that I wanted to talk about this today is because I went to the hospital yesterday for a checkup. I was referred by my dentist to a specialist for a lump in my mouth, and I'm not going to lie, I was worried about it because I was a heavy smoker for years, and I kind of went off in my head down the road of what if it's the C word, as you do, because when you don't know what something is, your brain goes up to making lots of stories, running a narrative on it, and you don't really know is the truth. And I had to wait quite a long time for my appointment, but I went yesterday, and the guy was really, really nice. And I said to him, I don't think it's anything bad. I said, because in my body I feel healthy and fit and happy. I said, it's a little bit irritating. I said, some days it just feels like a bruise if you press on it. It's right at the top of my gum on the left-hand side of my mouth. And I said, but I can eat on that side. I said, and it's not mega painful or irritating. So he said, oh, let's have a look. And he said, no, you're right, it's just a cyst. He said, it's a little cyst, and it's there because your root canal is unhappy. And I've had that root canal done twice, and that side of my mouth is very unhappy. And he said, it will slowly get bigger over time. It will grow. He said, but very slowly. He said, so you can you've got three choices. You can leave it, or you can have the cyst removed, or you can have the cyst and the tooth removed. He said, I would have it all removed because it's the tooth that's causing the cyst. And he said, if you leave the tooth in there, then you might likely get another one or have more irritation or infection. So I was like, okay. And I said to him, I don't really want to be put to sleep. And he said, oh, no, we wouldn't put you to sleep. We'd just numb your mouth and do it while you're awake. And then I was thinking, oh, bloody hell, I'm a bit scared of dentists. The Demon Dentist by David Walliams. Have you read that book with your kids? I just was like, oh, no, I don't know if I want to do that. So I said, oh, I'll think about it. And then driving home, I thought, I'm going to leave it. Now, is that neglectful to leave it? But when I got home, and my friend came over for supper last night, and I made myself a cup of tea while I was waiting for her to arrive. And I looked up in the metaphysical world what gums were and what cysts were. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, because it just explains exactly where I'm at and what I'm going through at the moment in terms of my healing. So a cyst is over-mothering other people and a lack of self-nurturing. So I thought, oh, that's interesting, isn't it? And then I was like, why is it happening on the left side of my body? So the left side of your body is the feminine. And I am actually repeating a pattern that my mum does. My mum was a caretaker growing up as a child. She was a parentified child, and she also then became a nurse. So she was in a caretaking job, and obviously then she was a mum to 4 children and dedicated her life to being a mother, and then went back to nursing as we got older. So it is on the feminine side of my lineage, so it's coming in for me to clear it and heal it. And I totally believe in the metaphysical, that when you balance out your energies and you clear out the pain and the limiting beliefs that are attached to, because we're holding it in ourselves, the trauma. We hold it in ourselves. So if we can clear it, then there's a chance it might go on its own. Now, the specialist yesterday said it wouldn't go on its own. But me, being the determined, slightly rebellious wild heart that I am, was thinking, Mr. Specialist, you're specialist in what you're specialist in, but you don't understand the metaphysical, and you don't understand the energetic vibration of the body, and you don't understand that I'm holding this in my body because my body is trying to clear something which it doesn't want, that isn't good for me. So I thought, I'm going to have a go at removing this myself. And it's a wake-up call for me to focus on nurturing myself and upping my self-care and working less and paying attention to all the ways that I am neglectful to my own needs. I thought, I'm going to give this a go. This is my opportunity. So then I felt quite positive while I was sitting there drinking my tea. Then I looked up gums and I was like, oh, and it says inflamed gums are anger and resentment. And I thought, yeah, that's amazing. And then as I was going down rabbit holes with it, I found a website that specifically talked about the different areas of your mouth and root canal and gums and inflammation. And it's quite amazing what it all symbolises, and so spookily accurate. So the top back left hand area of my mouth correlates to my unfulfilled desires. Now, what are the chances that I put out a video on YouTube just yesterday, on tapping into your desires and your unfulfilled desires, and a book that I've been revisiting by a lady called Cassia Urbaniak, which is about the empowered woman, and that I'm watching Lucifer on Netflix. And Lucifer is obviously the devil, but Lucifer's superpower is getting people to reveal what their desires are, tapping into their desires. And we're not just talking about sexual desires, we're talking about, fulfilled dreams and delight and joy and hope and all those kind of lovely things that actually I don't allow myself to experience. Not consciously, but obviously I am conscious of it now because I've gone down that rabbit hole and done a load of journaling on it. And I just find it so remarkable that intuitively that's where I'm being led in my work, and that's all connected into that. So whatever's going on in your physical body is always a mirror, it's a mirror, and showing you what is going on for you emotionally, or what pain you're holding on to. So if you haven't watched the latest video on my YouTube channel, hop on over. You'll find me under Lisa Parkes, Parkes, Wildheart, all one word, and you will see my latest video. And it's quite remarkable what came through in the cards when I did an intuitive read on it. But bearing in mind that I've just seen a really green butterfly, and I was just about to tell you that the thumbnail, the picture that you click on to watch the video, is all vibrant greens. And I was thinking, oh well, that's quite spring-like, that will attract people's attention. But also, green is the energy of the heart chakra, and the desires come from the heart. We talk about following your heart's desire. What's your heart's desire? So I invite you to journal on that question this morning. What is my heart's desire? And if you watch the video, you'll find out all about how to create your bad girl list, which is obviously the opposite of a good girl. And that good girl, for those of you that don't know, is conditioning. It's societal conditioning that says, I have to be kind to be loved. I have to be perfect to be loved. I have to do what other people want me to be loved. It's like an excess of the fawn trauma response. You're here to make other people happy, which is obviously really toxic, and it doesn't work for you. It will lead to burnout, and it will also lead to a loss of your sense of self. You will feel invisible, and you will lose yourself in relationships. You will lose yourself in roles or masks that you put on for other people to keep them happy. And so now is the time to just completely satisfy yourself without the guilt and the shame, and without feeling like you're being self-indulgent or selfish. So on this Mother's Day, I invite you to just sit with what your life would look like if you could fulfill your heart's desire. And as you think about that, that might even bring up uncomfortable feelings for you. I'm pretty sure that for lots of us, our inner child doesn't feel safe enough to follow our heart's desires. And I know that's true for me, and that's been semi-conscious in my mind. But now as I'm talking to you, I realise that it's coming up to be healed. It's time to heal it. My heart's desire is to be a writer, is to be an author, or to be creating more. And I have done everything but do that again for another 6 weeks. So I go into my writing, I wrote another 10,000 words, and then it's almost like we would call it self-protection, but it's self-sabotage. And then I start to avoid sitting down and writing. My inner critic will run stories that what I'm writing is not good enough, and who am I to be a writer, and who am I to sit here and write and navel gaze every day. You know, maybe I should be working harder, doing. And so it's breaking down those false beliefs. Like, really, I don't want to be in a hustle mentality of chasing the dollar, of hustle every day. And actually what I'm learning through energy work and manifestation is, if you want to earn more money, you need to attract it to you by being in alignment with your values and with your heart's desire. So that involves being able to sit with yourself. So under that umbrella of mothering, of self-nurturing, of self-love, of self-care, of enjoying life, of having fun, of, delighting in what your day consists of, is lots of things, isn't there? There's lots of things to look at. And I think if we think about the way that we've been mothered, and if I think about the way that my mother mothered me, and my mum didn't have a role model for mothering, because unfortunately she lost her mum really early on in life. So I'm sure she based the way that she became a mother on what she saw everyone else doing. And so what are our role models there? Well, it's the Disney, the white picket fence, the American dream. The mother does everything. She's all things to all people. She is a selfless overgiver. But I bet she's full of burning anger and resentment, because I bloody know that I am. And owning that without shame and letting myself feel that anger and resentment allows it to come up and out to the surface. And also in this article I read, it talked about the anger was arising from being treated unfairly. So my inner child does feel like she was treated unfairly and was put into all sorts of roles and positions and given responsibilities that she never should have had. And for my inner child, not for my adult self, because my adult self understands why that happened, what was going on in our house at the time, and how we all kind of took up roles and responsibilities to accommodate the chaos and the challenges that we faced as a family. But I have to tend to the needs of the unmet needs and the unheard feelings of my inner child in order to heal that. So I have to let that anger and resentment be. I have to own it and say, yes, that's how I feel. And I have to validate it and say it's okay for me to feel like that. And I have to allow it to just bubble up and be and sit with it, instead of pushing it away or making it wrong. It's not to have a pity party and feel sorry for yourself. It's just to acknowledge that it's there. Because once we look into it, once we look at it, we become aware of it and we feel it, then it clears. It clears that we don't carry that energetic vibration in our body anymore. So on this Mother's Day, I make a promise to myself, and I invite you to do the same. I promise that I will become the creative or the writer that I wish to be by embodying that and sitting down to create or write every day. And that when uncomfortable feelings come up in my body, I won't run from them. I'll sit with them and I'll let them be. And I'll listen to my inner child. I'll give her the time and attention that she deserves. I'll show her that she's worth listening to, that she's deserving of that. And I will make sure that she feels okay. I will reassure her that now you're an adult and you don't need to run around all over town taking care of other people. Nothing bad's going to happen. You can actually spend time with yourself. And to also recognise that when I am not honouring my promise to myself, that I am abandoning myself. I am betraying myself, like I was abandoned and betrayed when I was a kid. And that's where my misjustice, my unfairness, my indignance, my anger, my rage comes from. And it's so justified, and it's so valid, and it's so okay. It's just okay. So this Mother's Day, let's celebrate you. By celebrating you and acknowledging how far you've come on your healing journey, and by making a promise to yourself, and by knowing that celebrating you and making these promises to yourself and keeping them, that you're building self-trust and you're coming to rely and depend on you in a way that maybe you weren't able to rely and depend on other adults when you were a kid growing up. And that you can change that pattern by putting yourself first, by prioritising your needs, by listening to yourself. You know, self-love and self-care isn't just having a manicure and a bubble bath. It is about taking care of your emotional self. And as a highly sensitive, because you feel things so deeply and because you process on a deeper level, give yourself the time and space to do that. That's how you experience the world. And to not experience that is painful, but it's also neglectful. And we don't want to treat ourselves the way that we were treated. We know better and we can do better, and we absolutely will, lovely wild hearts. And can you hear that determination in my voice? That's how I feel today. So I'm going to leave it there for today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it and it's been helpful. And until next time, stay wild, choose love. So much love to you. Bye for now.